He thought it was just another desperate attempt to get him back, so when her name flashed on his screen, Dante didn't even hesitate. He hit decline. Again and again. He silenced his phone and went back to his meeting, thinking he had won. But 10 minutes later, a different number rang. A landline. "Is this Mr. Romano? Sir, your ex-wife has just been brought into critical care. You are listed as her only emergency contact and the father of her children." His blood ran cold. Children. Plural. He never knew she was pregnant. Now the most powerful Mafia Don in the city is sprinting through hospital corridors, praying he's not too late for the woman he broke and the 3 tiny lives he didn't even know he had created. I'm Selena. Welcome to Dark Love Stories, where passion meets danger. Hit subscribe if you crave possessive heroes and second chances, and let's see if he can save his secret family. The phone vibrated once. Dante didn't look at it. He was seated at the head of the table, posture relaxed, hands folded, eyes calm in the way that made men nervous. The private room above the restaurant smelled faintly of cigar smoke and polished wood. A view of the city glittered behind him, meaningless. Power never came from scenery. The vibration stopped. Across the table, 2 men from the Caruso family waited for him to speak. They were dressed well, but not well enough. Their smiles were rehearsed, their confidence borrowed. Dante let the silence stretch. Silence was pressure. Silence made people confess without opening their mouths. The phone vibrated again. Vinny noticed this time. Dante didn't need to look at him to know. He could feel Vinny's attention shift, the way it always did when something went wrong. 10 million, Dante said calmly, finally breaking the silence. Paid in full. Tonight. One of the Carusos swallowed. That's more than we agreed. Dante tilted his head, as if considering the statement seriously. No, he said. It's more than you planned. The phone vibrated again. Dante's jaw tightened. He glanced down just enough to see the name on the screen. Elena. His expression didn't change, but something in the room did. The temperature dropped a degree. Vinny saw it. Dante flipped the phone face down. 3 months, Dante continued, voice even. You moved product through my ports without permission. You skimmed from my routes. You thought I wouldn't notice. We were desperate, one of the men said quickly. Bad year. Bad luck. Dante leaned forward slightly. There's no such thing as bad luck, he said. Only bad decisions. The phone vibrated again. Longer this time. A call, not a message. Dante ignored it. Elena always called when she needed something. That's what he told himself. She never called to talk, never to apologize, never to explain why she left without looking back. Money. It was always money. The ringtone stopped. Dante exhaled slowly through his nose and continued the meeting as if nothing had happened. You'll pay, he said, because the alternative costs more. The Caruso men nodded. They always did at the end. Fear had a way of simplifying negotiations. Vinny's phone buzzed this time. He checked it quickly, frowned, then looked up. Boss, Dante raised one finger. Later. Vinny shut up. The deal concluded without handshakes. Dante didn't believe in sealing agreements with gestures. He believed in consequences. The Carusos left pale and silent, escorted by men who didn't bother pretending they were just security. When the door closed, Dante finally reached for his phone. 17 missed calls. His thumb hovered over Elena's name. 17 was excessive, even for her. For a moment, just a moment, something flickered in his chest. Not guilt, not concern, irritation, that familiar sharp resentment he'd carried since the day she walked out. She had chosen another man. That was the story he'd built. That was the story that allowed him to sleep. He opened the voicemail notification, stopped, closed it. He didn't listen. Whatever Elena had to say, she could say it later. He wasn't in the business of being emotionally blackmailed during negotiations that decided who lived comfortably and who didn't live at all. Problem? Vinny asked cautiously. No, Dante said. Just noise. They moved to the elevator. The doors slid shut, sealing Dante inside with his men and his thoughts. The phone vibrated again. Elena. Dante stared at the glowing screen as the elevator descended. Images surfaced uninvited. Elena laughing in the kitchen years ago. Elena asleep with her hair across his chest. Elena standing in the doorway with her suitcase already packed. He hardened. That woman didn't exist anymore. The woman who called him now was someone else. Someone who had learned how to exploit his past. He rejected the call. Immediately, another came through. Rejected. Another. Vinny shifted beside him. Boss, that's the fifth one. Dante slipped the phone into his jacket. Let it ring. The elevator reached the garage. Engines started. Doors closed. The convoy rolled out into the city. Dante watched the streets blur past, neon lights reflecting off bulletproof glass. His world moved fast. It always had. There was no room for backward glances. His phone stopped vibrating. Finally. He relaxed, just slightly. That was when the message came through. Elena, please, I need you. Dante stared at the screen. No emojis, no manipulation, no mention of money, just 5 words. He scoffed quietly. You always need something, he thought. He didn't reply. He turned the phone off. By the time Dante arrived home, the night had settled heavy and still. His penthouse lights were already on. Everything in his life ran on schedules and systems. Order was safety. He poured himself a drink. Didn't sit down. The silence pressed in, unfamiliar. He caught himself glancing at the phone again. Nothing. Good. That meant whatever crisis Elena had manufactured had passed. It always did. He drained the glass and went to his office, reviewing reports, approving movements, signing off on violence with the same detached precision he'd mastered years ago. Hours passed. At some point, unease crept in. Not loud, not obvious. Just a low irritation under his skin, the kind that came when something didn't fit. Elena had never called that many times. She was proud. Too proud. She'd rather suffer than beg him. That thought annoyed him more than it should have. He checked the phone. No new messages. Still, something twisted in his chest. Dante dismissed it. Regret was a useless emotion. It didn't fix mistakes. It only weakened resolve. He was reaching for another drink when the penthouse door opened. Vinny walked in without knocking. That alone stopped Dante cold. Vinny never broke protocol unless the world was already on fire. What? Dante said flatly. Did you interrupt me for? Vinny's face was pale. His voice was steady, but only just. Boss, he said, you need to come with me. Dante's grip tightened around the glass. Why? Vinny hesitated, a fraction too long. Because, he said carefully, Elena isn't asking for money. The glass slipped from Dante's hand and shattered on the floor. Vinny met his eyes. She's in the hospital. Silence slammed into the room like a gunshot, and for the first time that night, Dante felt something far worse than anger. He felt fear. The word hospital didn't belong to Dante's world. Hospitals were for civilians, for people who waited, for people who hoped. Dante dealt in certainty. Either problems were eliminated or they eliminated you. There was no middle ground, no sterile corridors where lives hung on blinking machines. Yet here he was, standing in his penthouse with shattered glass at his feet, staring at Vinny like the man had spoken a foreign language. Say it again, Dante said. Vinny didn't move, didn't soften his tone. He knew better. Elena's in the hospital. Dante exhaled sharply through his nose, a humorless sound. You interrupted me for that? Yes. She gets sick every winter, Dante said. She has migraines, panic attacks. You know this. This isn't that. Dante turned away, walking toward the window. The city sprawled below him, indifferent and alive. A million lights, a million people who weren't Elena. "Then what is it?" Dante asked. Vinny followed, stopping a careful distance behind him. She was brought in by ambulance, emergency intake, ICU wing. That got Dante's attention. He turned slowly. ICU is for people who are dying. Vinny nodded once, or trying not to. Dante's jaw tightened. He hated how easily the room had shifted, hated how a single word could destabilize a night he'd controlled perfectly. "Why wasn't I informed earlier?" he demanded. "You were," Vinny said. 17 times. Dante's eyes flicked away. "So she finally escalated," Dante said coldly. "Dramatic entrance, I should have known." Vinny didn't respond immediately. When he did, his voice was lower. "Boss, she didn't ask for you." That didn't make sense. Elena always asked, even when she pretended she wasn't. "What do you mean?" "She listed no emergency contact." Dante frowned. "That's impossible. She didn't put your name anywhere." The words landed wrong. They didn't sting. They scraped. Dante paced, irritation building. "She's angry. She's always angry. This is her way of punishing me." Vinny stepped closer. "You don't understand." Dante stopped. "Then explain." Vinny took a breath. "She went into premature labor." The room tilted. Dante laughed, a short, sharp sound that didn't reach his eyes. "Don't insult me," he said. "She isn't pregnant." "She was." Dante shook his head. "I would know." Vinny didn't argue. "How," Dante continued, "would she be pregnant? We've been divorced for 2 years, Vinny finished, and the doctors estimate 28 weeks. The math punched Dante in the chest. "That's impossible," he snapped. "She left before that." "She left because of that," Vinny said quietly. Silence swallowed the room. Dante stared at him. "You're saying she hid a pregnancy?" "Yes, with my child." Vinny didn't answer immediately. "Children," he said. The word echoed. Plural. Heavy. Dante felt heat rise under his collar. "How many?" Vinny met his gaze. 3. The city outside blurred. Triplets didn't happen to men like Dante. Families didn't happen. That kind of chaos was for people who believed in futures longer than tomorrow. "You're lying," Dante said. "I wish I was." Dante dragged a hand down his face. His thoughts fractured, trying to reorganize around information that shouldn't exist. "She would have told me," he muttered. "She would have had to." "She didn't want you to know." "Why?" Vinny hesitated. Dante's eyes snapped up. "Why?" "Because she was afraid." That word landed clean. Afraid. Not angry, not manipulative. Afraid. "Of me?" Dante asked. "Yes." The answer was immediate. No hesitation, no apology. Dante felt something crack. Not break, just fracture enough to let something sharp through. "That doesn't make sense," he said. "I never hurt her." Vinny chose his words carefully. "You didn't have to." Dante turned away again, fists clenched. Elena afraid. Elena running. Elena carrying 3 children he didn't know existed while he assumed the worst of her. "No," he said. "She cheated. She left me. I saw the messages." Vinny stiffened. "What messages?" Dante turned slowly. "The ones from her phone, the night she left." Vinny's expression changed. Confusion first, then something darker. "Boss," he said, "those messages weren't from another man." Dante felt his pulse spike. "Explain." "They were from a private security firm," Vinny said. "One we later traced back to a shell company connected to the Barone family." Dante froze. Barone. Rivals. Enemies. Predators who liked leverage more than blood. "She was being watched," Vinny continued. "Threatened. She never told you because she didn't trust your response." Dante's throat went dry. "She thought," Vinny said carefully, "you'd escalate, make it worse." The room felt smaller now, suffocating. "So she left," Dante said, "without telling me she was pregnant." "Yes, to protect them." "Yes." Dante slammed his fist into the wall. The sound echoed, sharp and violent. "Where is she?" he demanded. "St. Mary's," Vinny said. ICU, restricted access. Dante grabbed his jacket. Get the car. There's more, Vinny said. Dante stopped. If you say but... She didn't list you as family, Vinny finished. She listed no one. That hit harder than any bullet. No one. Not him, not her parents, not even a friend. Elena had planned to do this alone. Dante moved anyway. The drive was fast, too fast. Red lights were suggestions. Sirens parted traffic like fear always did. Dante stared out the window, replaying memories with new context. Every argument, every silence, every moment he'd mistaken fear for distance. She called me, he said suddenly. Vinny glanced at him. Yes. She never begged, Dante said. Not once. No. Dante swallowed. So if she called... She was desperate, Vinny said. The hospital came into view. White, sterile, glowing like a warning. Dante's heart hammered as the car slowed. He wasn't prepared for what he felt walking through those doors. Power meant nothing here. Money meant nothing. His name didn't make people flinch. He was just another man rushing towards something he might already be too late for. They reached the ICU floor, and that was when the nurse stopped him. I'm sorry, she said firmly. No visitors. Dante opened his mouth to argue. Then she added, especially you. The words landed like a sentence. Dante stared at her. What did you say? She listed you by name, the nurse continued. You're not allowed inside. Dante felt the floor drop out beneath him. Elena hadn't just hidden from him, she had shut him out. Completely. Behind that door were answers, and children he hadn't even seen, and the woman he might have already lost. Dante took a step forward anyway, because whether Elena wanted him there or not, this was no longer something he could walk away from. The ICU doors didn't look threatening. That was the problem. They were just glass and metal, spotless and quiet, guarded not by men with guns, but by rules written in black ink. Dante had survived wars that left cities burning. He had broken organizations with a phone call, yet he stopped short in front of those doors like a man unsure where to put his feet. The nurse stood firm, clipboard pressed to her chest. I've already explained, she said. You are not permitted. Dante stared at her. She didn't avert her gaze. She didn't recognize him. That alone was disorienting. I'm her husband, he said. You're her ex-husband, the nurse corrected calmly, and you are specifically listed as someone she does not want to see. Vinny shifted behind him. Dante felt it, that instinctive move toward violence, toward leverage. He held up a hand. How long ago did she fill out the intake form? Dante asked. Upon arrival. That stung. Elena had been conscious enough to exclude him. Who approved this? Dante said. The patient, the nurse replied, and the attending physician. Dante's jaw tightened. Then I want to speak to the physician. The nurse nodded. Dr. Evans. Minutes later, the man appeared. Tall, silver-haired, eyes sharp with the kind of exhaustion earned over decades of watching people lose. Dr. Evans didn't offer his hand. What seems to be the issue? He asked. Dante stepped forward. I'm here to see Elena Rossi. Dr. Evans looked at his chart. You're not authorized. I'm the father of her children. Dr. Evans raised an eyebrow. According to the patient, you are not involved. Dante felt heat rise behind his eyes. That doesn't change biology. No, Dr. Evans said evenly, but it does change consent. Dante leaned closer. You're keeping a man from his family. Dr. Evans didn't flinch. I'm protecting a patient who explicitly asked for distance from you. Vinny watched Dante carefully. This was dangerous territory. Dante was used to doors opening, used to people folding when pressure was applied. This door didn't move. I want 1 minute, Dante said. 1. No. I'll donate, Dante said immediately. Any amount. Equipment. Renovations. Dr. Evans' eyes hardened. This isn't a negotiation. Dante clenched his fists. Then what is it? It's a boundary, Dr. Evans replied. One she set while scared, in pain and vulnerable, and until she changes her mind, it stands. Silence stretched between them. Dante felt something unfamiliar creeping in. Not rage, not fear. Helplessness. Are the babies alive? Dante asked. Dr. Evans studied him for a long moment. For now. That was not reassurance. How many? Dante asked again. 3, Dr. Evans said. All premature. All critical. Dante swallowed. Let me see them, he said quietly. I won't go near her. Dr. Evans shook his head. NICU access is also restricted. Because of her, Dante said. Yes. Dante closed his eyes briefly. Elena had drawn a circle around herself and the children, and he was outside it. Vinny leaned in, voice low. Boss, maybe we take a step back. Let things cool. Dante opened his eyes slowly. No, he said. I'm not leaving. He turned back to Dr. Evans. You don't know who I am. Dr. Evans nodded. I know exactly who you are. That's why I'm saying no. The words hit harder than a threat. Dante smiled then. A thin, dangerous expression. Everyone has a price. Dr. Evans leaned closer. Not when a woman's life is involved. Dante studied him, realizing something crucial. This man wasn't afraid of him, and fear was usually Dante's currency. You're risking a lawsuit, Dante said. Dr. Evans shrugged. I'll take my chances. Dante turned away sharply. Get legal on the phone, he muttered to Vinny. Now. Vinny hesitated. Boss? Now. Vinny moved off. Dante paced the hallway, tension coiled tight in his chest. Nurses moved around him, eyes flicking away, whispers trailing. He caught fragments. That's him. She didn't want him here. Poor woman. Poor woman. As if Elena were some fragile thing he'd broken without realizing. The door to the NICU opened briefly as staff passed through. Dante caught a glimpse. Tiny incubators, wires, machines breathing for bodies not ready to exist yet. Something twisted in his gut. Those were his children, and he wasn't allowed to see them. His phone buzzed. Legal was moving. Injunctions, emergency orders, pressure applied with surgical precision. Dr. Evans returned minutes later, face tight. You're causing a disturbance, he said. I'm claiming my rights, Dante replied. You're forcing your way into a situation where you are not welcome. Dante met his gaze. I don't need welcome. I need access. Dr. Evans sighed. You can wait. For what? For her to wake up. That stopped Dante cold. She's unconscious, he said. Yes. How long? We don't know. Dante's chest tightened. Then she can't object. She already did. Dante laughed bitterly. You're hiding behind paperwork while 3 children fight for their lives. Dr. Evans' voice hardened. And you're trying to bulldoze your way through trauma because you feel entitled. The accusation landed. Entitled. Dante looked away, jaw working. I just want to see them, he said finally. That's all. Dr. Evans studied him again. Something shifted, not sympathy, but calculation. 1 minute, he said. Through the glass, no touching, no names, no scenes. Dante stilled. You're serious? Yes. Before Dante could respond, Dr. Evans added, break 1 rule and you're out. Dante nodded once. The NICU doors opened. The room was quiet in a way that felt wrong, not peaceful, just fragile. Dante stepped inside. The incubators were lined up carefully. 3, too small, too still. His breath caught despite himself. He moved closer, hands hovering uselessly at his sides. They didn't look like him. Not yet. They looked like promises that might break if handled wrong. One stirred weakly. Dante felt his chest tighten. Jesus, he whispered. A nurse shot him a warning look. He swallowed the word and backed up. Behind the glass of the adjacent ICU room, Elena lay motionless, pale, bruised, breathing, but barely. Dante stared at her, memories colliding violently with reality. She had done this alone. He stepped back as Dr. Evans signaled time. As he turned to leave, another nurse approached, frowning at the chart. "There's a problem," she said to Dr. Evans. "What kind?" "One of the baby's vitals are unstable." Dante froze. Dr. Evans swore under his breath and turned sharply toward the incubators. "Get hematology," he ordered. "Now!" Dante's heart slammed. "What's happening?" he demanded. Dr. Evans didn't answer him. He was already moving. And Dante realized with brutal clarity, seeing them was the easy part. Keeping them alive was going to cost far more than power. The alarm didn't scream. It pulsed, low, insistent. Controlled panic disguised as professionalism. Dante stood frozen as doctors and nurses moved with sudden urgency around the smallest incubator. Their voices stayed level, but their speed betrayed them. Charts were checked, numbers recalculated, machines adjusted. One of his children was failing. Dante felt the realization hit before anyone spoke it out loud. Dr. Evans stepped closer to the incubator, eyes locked on the monitor. Heart rate's dropping. "How fast?" a nurse asked. "Too fast." Dante moved forward instinctively. "What's wrong with him?" Dr. Evans shot him a sharp look. "Step back. That's my son." "That's a patient," Dr. Evans snapped. "And right now, he's critical." Dante clenched his fists but obeyed. Power meant nothing here. He could feel it slipping, useless and heavy in his pockets. Another alarm joined the first, not louder, worse. Dr. Evans straightened. "Get hematology down here." "What's happening?" Dante demanded again. Dr. Evans finally looked at him, really looked. "He has a rare blood disorder." Dante's chest tightened. "Fix it." Dr. Evans didn't bother pretending. "We can't, not without compatible blood." "Then find it," Dante said. "Buy it, fly it in." "It doesn't work like that." Dante stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Everything works like that." Dr. Evans shook his head. "Not genetics." A nurse returned with a tablet. Blood type confirmed. Dr. Evans scanned it, then frowned. "Run it again." The nurse hesitated. "Doctor." "Run it again." Dante watched the exchange, unease turning sharp. "What aren't you telling me?" Dr. Evans didn't answer immediately. His jaw tightened as the second confirmation came in. He exhaled slowly. "The baby needs a direct donor," he said. "Same rare type, same markers." "And," Dante said, "you don't have one." Dr. Evans turned toward him. "Yes," he said, "we do." The pause stretched. Dante felt his pulse spike. "Who?" Dr. Evans held his gaze. "You." The word landed like a verdict. "No," Dante said immediately. "That's not possible." Dr. Evans didn't argue. "It already is." Dante shook his head. "You don't know that." "We tested," Dr. Evans said, "because it was the only option left." "You tested my blood," Dante snapped. "You donated during intake," Dr. Evans replied. "Standard protocol." Dante stared at him, mind racing. No DNA test, no waiting period, no doubt. Blood didn't speculate. Blood didn't lie. "That means," Dante began. "Yes," Dr. Evans said. "He's yours." The room felt suddenly too small. All the arguments Dante had built over 2 years, the cheating, the betrayal, the lies, collapsed under a single medical fact. Elena hadn't been unfaithful. She had been afraid. Dante swallowed hard. "What happens if I don't donate?" Dr. Evans didn't soften it. "Your son dies." The words were clinical, efficient, merciless. Dante looked at the incubator again. The baby's chest rose shallowly, assisted by machines. So small, so fragile. He'd killed men without blinking. This terrified him. "Prep him," Dante said. Dr. Evans didn't move. "You understand the risk." "I don't care." "You could lose consciousness. Your vitals could crash." "I don't care." "You could die." Dante didn't hesitate. "Then do it fast." The room shifted. Doctors moved. Consent forms appeared. A nurse explained risks Dante didn't listen to. Vinny stepped forward, voice tight. "Boss, think." Dante looked at him. "I am." Vinny swallowed. "If something happens to you, then make sure something happens to whoever did this to her," Dante said flatly. That ended the conversation. They moved Dante to a chair beside the incubator. The irony didn't escape him. His blood feeding life while his presence had nearly destroyed it. A nurse tied a tourniquet around his arm. Dante watched her hands with strange detachment. "How long?" he asked. "As long as it takes," she replied. The needle slid in. Dante didn't flinch. Red flowed through the line, steady and real. The monitor shifted. Not dramatically, just enough. Dr. Evans leaned closer, eyes narrowing, heart rate stabilizing. Dante let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Minutes passed, each one felt earned. His arm grew heavy, his head light. He focused on the incubator, on the tiny hand barely visible beneath tubes and wires. "I'm here," he thought, though the baby couldn't hear him. "I'm not going anywhere." A nurse checked the monitor again. "Doctor," she said quietly. Dr. Evans leaned in. The silence that followed was unbearable. "What?" Dante demanded. Dr. Evans straightened slowly. "The transfusion is working," he said. Relief hit Dante hard, sharp and sudden, almost painful, but it didn't last. Dr. Evans continued, voice grave. "But we have another problem." Dante's heart dropped. "Say it." "The condition may affect the other two," Dr. Evans said. "We're running tests now." Dante closed his eyes briefly. "How many times can I do this?" Dr. Evans didn't answer immediately. "That depends," he said finally, "on how much blood you're willing to give." Dante opened his eyes. "As much as they need," he said. Dr. Evans studied him, then nodded. "Then stay still," he said. "We're not done yet." As the machine continued to drain him, Dante felt the weight of it all settle fully for the first time. 3 lives, all tied to his blood. And somewhere beyond these walls, enemies who would see this weakness as opportunity. Dante turned his head slightly, catching Vinny's eye. "Lock this floor down," he said quietly. "No one in, no one out." Vinny stiffened. "Boss?" "Now," Dante said, because as the blood flowed, Dante knew one brutal truth. If his enemies learned he was bleeding in a hospital, they wouldn't wait. The hospital felt different once Dante knew. Not quieter, not calmer, predatory. Every reflective surface looked like a place someone could be watching from. Every pair of footsteps echoed too long. Dante lay back in the chair, blood still moving through plastic tubing, machines humming with artificial patience. He had built empires on paranoia. Now it finally felt justified. Vinny moved with purpose, issuing instructions into his phone in low, clipped tones. Men were being reassigned, corridors monitored, entry points cataloged, cameras pulled up on private feeds. But Dante knew something Vinny didn't say out loud. Security after the fact was always damage control. "You should have told me earlier," Dante said quietly. Vinny didn't pretend not to understand. "I didn't have proof." "Of what?" "That this wasn't just coincidence." Dante turned his head slightly. "Start talking." Vinny pocketed his phone and leaned against the wall, eyes never stopping their scan of the room. "Elena wasn't just hiding from you," he said. "She was hiding from them." Dante's jaw tightened. "Barone." "Yes." The name carried weight, old weight, blood-soaked history. The Barone family had lost territory, men and leverage to Dante over the years. They hadn't forgiven. They just waited. "They found her," Dante said. "They traced her," Vinny corrected. 6 months ago. Dante's breath slowed. "How?" "She used one of your old accounts. Just once. Enough." A muscle jumped in Dante's cheek. "She came to you," Dante said. "That night she left." "Yes. And I didn't listen." Vinny didn't argue. "They threatened her," Vinny continued. Not directly. That's not how they work. They sent warnings. Let her know they knew where she slept, where she shopped, where she went for prenatal care. The word prenatal landed like a punch. She was already pregnant, Dante said. Yes. With all three. Yes. Dante stared at the ceiling, memories reframing themselves mercilessly. Elena's sudden nausea, her exhaustion, the way she'd flinched at unknown cars. She thought if she disappeared, Dante said, they'd lose interest. She thought if you didn't know, Vinny said, you couldn't be used against her. Dante let out a bitter laugh. She underestimated them. She underestimated you, Vinny corrected gently. That stung worse. She left the city, Vinny continued. Changed names, moved clinics, paid cash. No digital trail. Then how did they catch her? Dante asked. They didn't, Vinny said, until last week. Dante's eyes snapped to him. What happened? She went into early distress, Vinny said. Ambulance call, public system. That was enough. Dante closed his eyes. Every system he'd corrupted, every emergency service he'd bent to his will, all of it now worked against him. She called me, Dante said hoarsely. Yes, because she knew, Dante continued. Once she was visible, it was over. Vinny nodded. She wasn't calling for money. Dante swallowed hard. She was calling for protection. Silence filled the space between machines. Dante opened his eyes, staring at the clear bag slowly filling with his blood. And I turned my phone off. Vinny didn't respond. There was nothing left to soften. They followed her to the hospital, Dante said. Yes. When? We don't know exactly, Vinny admitted. But there was a vehicle spotted near the ambulance route, changed plates twice. Professional. Dante's fingers curled slightly against the chair. So this, he said, gesturing weakly at himself, at the machines, at the incubators beyond the glass, this was the plan. Vinny hesitated. The babies were leverage. Dante felt something cold and sharp settle in his chest. They wanted to force me out, Dante said. Make me react. Or make you choose, Vinny said. Dante's gaze hardened. They already made that mistake. Vinny studied him. Boss, if they know you're here. They do, Dante said. Someone always talks. The nurse adjusted the machine, oblivious to the war being discussed inches away. They won't strike loud, Dante continued. Not yet. They'll wait. For what? For her, Dante said. Vinny followed his gaze to the ICU room beyond. Elena, Dante said quietly. She's the real target. Vinny stiffened. You think they'll try to finish it? I think, Dante said, they never intended to let her live. The words felt carved out of stone. She survived the accident, Dante continued. She survived labor. She survived tonight. Vinny nodded grimly. They won't like that. Dante shifted slightly, ignoring the wave of dizziness. They'll want a message, he said. Something personal. Vinny's jaw tightened. Here. Yes. Vinny exhaled slowly. Hospital hits are messy. Baroni doesn't care about clean, Dante replied. They care about impact. A pause. What do you want me to do? Vinny asked. Dante didn't answer immediately. He stared through the glass again at Elena's still form, pale against white sheets, entirely unaware of the storm circling her. I want you to find who tipped them off, Dante said, and when I do, make sure they never speak again. Vinny nodded once. And Vinny, Dante added. Yes, triple the guards, Dante said, but don't make it obvious. Understood. Anyone who doesn't belong on this floor, Dante said, voice dropping, doesn't leave it. Vinny's expression hardened. I'll handle it. As Vinny stepped away, Dante felt the machine slow. The nurse checked the line. We're going to pause for now. Dante nodded faintly. The room felt heavier without the hum of motion. Alone with his thoughts, Dante finally allowed the full truth to surface. Elena hadn't left him because she stopped loving him. She left because loving him was lethal. A nurse approached hesitantly. "Mr. Rossi, there's been a change." Dante's head snapped up. "Which one?" "The mother," she said. "Her vitals are fluctuating." Dante's heart slammed. "What does that mean?" "It could be nothing," the nurse said quickly. But what?" "She may be coming out of sedation." Dante froze. Awakening meant answers. It also meant chaos, because if Elena woke now and saw him, everything he was trying to protect could shatter in seconds. Before Dante could respond, a sharp voice crackled over the intercom. "Security to ICU. Unidentified personnel attempting access." Dante's blood ran cold. He knew that tone. It wasn't precaution. It was warning. Dante pushed himself upright, ignoring the protests of his body. "Vinny," he said into the air, already knowing, because the past hadn't just caught up. It had arrived. Consciousness didn't return to Elena gently. It tore its way back. Pain came first, sharp, disorienting, everywhere at once. Her body felt unfamiliar, heavy, stitched together by invisible hands. The air tasted sterile, thin. Machines breathed for her before she realized she was breathing at all. Her fingers twitched. Then her eyes opened. Light stabbed through her skull. Shapes blurred, then sharpened. White ceiling, pale walls, a monitor blinking in steady accusation beside her. She tried to move. A bolt of pain shot through her abdomen, ripping a cry from her throat. "Easy," a voice said quickly. "Elena, don't move." She turned her head and froze. Dante stood there. Not a memory, not a nightmare. Real. Paler than she'd ever seen him. A tube running from his arm to a machine beside him. His suit jacket gone. His posture wrong. Not dominant, not controlled. Weak. Her breath hitched violently. "No," she rasped. Dante didn't speak. That was worse. Panic surged through her, raw and immediate. Her heart rate spiked, alarms reacting before reason could catch up. "No," she said louder, struggling against the bed. "Get him out." "Elena," a nurse said urgently. "You need to stay calm." "Get him out," Elena screamed, voice breaking. "He's not supposed to be here." Dante took an involuntary step back. The sound of her voice, not angry but terrified, hit him harder than any accusation could have. "I told you," she cried, tears spilling unchecked. "I told you to stay away." Her monitor shrieked. "Her vitals are spiking," a nurse warned. Dr. Evans rushed in. "Elena, listen to me. You're safe. You need to breathe." She wasn't listening. Her eyes never left Dante. "You followed me," she accused hoarsely. "You always do. You never stop." "I didn't," Dante started. "Get out," she screamed. "You bring death everywhere you go." The words weren't dramatic. They were exhausted. Dante felt them sink deep, finding places already cracked. "Elena," Dr. Evans snapped, "if you don't calm down, you could hemorrhage." "I don't care," she sobbed. "I won't let him near them." That word landed. Them. Dante's chest tightened. "You don't get to decide," Elena continued, struggling harder. "You never did. I left so they could live." Dr. Evans turned sharply to Dante. "Out now!" Dante didn't argue. That was the most damning part. He stepped back, hands raised slightly, not in surrender, in restraint. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said quietly. Elena laughed hysterically. "That's all you ever do." The nurse adjusted medication, trying to slow Elena's spiraling vitals. "Elena," Dr. Evans said firmly, "look at me. Look at me." She did, reluctantly, shaking. "He can't stay," she said, voice breaking. "Please." Dr. Evans nodded. "He won't." Dante felt something twist painfully in his chest as he was guided backward. "Elena," he said once more, unable to stop himself. "The babies—" Her eyes flashed. "You don't get to say that word." That cut clean. Dante let them push him away from the bed, toward the wall. As distance grew, Elena's strength gave out. Tears streamed silently down her temples. Her breathing slowed, forced under medical intervention. But her last look at Dante wasn't hate. It was fear, pure, unfiltered, as if she were staring at the man who ended her life. Even now, the doors slid shut between them. Dante stood frozen on the other side, heart pounding violently. Vinny appeared at his side, jaw tight. "Boss, she thinks I came to finish it," Dante said hoarsely. Vinny didn't deny it. Dante dragged a hand through his hair. "She doesn't know." "Know what?" "That I gave blood," Dante said. "That one of them almost died." Vinny exhaled slowly. "Maybe it's better she doesn't. Not yet." Dante stared at the door, watching Elena's monitor through the glass stabilize, one painful beat at a time. "She was right to leave," Dante said quietly. "I made her afraid." Vinny didn't speak. A nurse hurried past them, whispering urgently into a radio. Dante's instincts flared. "What's happening?" he demanded. The nurse didn't answer. Moments later, a security guard jogged up, face tense. "We have a situation." Vinny stiffened. "What kind?" "Someone tried to access the ICU using stolen credentials," the guard said. "Disappeared before we could stop him." Dante felt cold spread through his veins. "Did they reach the floor?" Dante asked. "Yes." "Where are they now?" "We don't know." Dante closed his eyes briefly. This was it. The chaos Elena had feared. The moment her screams might turn prophetic. Dante turned sharply to Vinny. "Lock this place down completely." "It already is," Vinny said. "But if they're inside—" "They're not here for me," Dante said. "They're here for her." Vinny glanced at the ICU door. "And the babies." Dante's gaze hardened. Across the hallway, a man in scrubs stood perfectly still, watching. Too still. Dante's instincts screamed. The man met Dante's eyes and smiled. The man in scrubs didn't move. That was the tell. Hospitals were motion, carts rolling, nurses rushing, urgency disguised as routine. Stillness meant intent. Stillness meant calculation. Dante felt it before anyone else reacted. "Vinny," he said quietly, eyes locked forward. "Left side. Hallway." Vinny's posture shifted a fraction. Enough. The man smiled wider. Then chaos began. The first gunshot was suppressed, a sharp cough instead of a bang. A security camera exploded into sparks. People screamed. Nurses scattered. Someone dropped a tray that shattered loudly against the floor. Dante didn't flinch. He turned, moving on instinct, only to feel the hard pull at his arm. The transfusion line. Still connected. Still feeding blood from his body into a life that depended on it. "Don't move!" a nurse shouted. Too late. Another suppressed shot cracked through the air. A guard went down hard, blood spreading fast across white tiles. Vinny was already moving, shouting orders into his mic, drawing his weapon as men flooded the hallway from concealed positions. The assassin bolted, not away, but forward, toward the ICU doors. "Elena," Dante breathed. He tried to rip the line free. Pain tore through his arm as the needle shifted dangerously. "Stop!" Dr. Evans barked. "If you disconnect now—" "I know," Dante snapped. The assassin fired again. Glass shattered. Alarms wailed, shrill and relentless. Smoke filled the corridor as a flash grenade went off, disorienting everyone except the man who had planned for it. Vinny fired back, bullets tearing into walls. "Boss!" Vinny yelled. "Get out of there!" Dante staggered to his feet, dizzy, vision tunneling. He could hear his heartbeat pounding in his ears, loud and irregular. Then he heard something worse. The NICU alarm changed pitch. Not emergency. Critical. Dr. Evans spun toward the monitor. "The baby's crashing!" Time slowed. Dante stood there, half attached to life-saving machinery, half free, caught between two doors. One led to violence. The other led to a child who would die without him. Vinny tackled the assassin just short of the ICU doors. They went down hard, struggling, the gun skidding across the floor. Another figure emerged from the stairwell. Backup. This wasn't a lone attempt. It was an execution. "Dante!" Dr. Evans shouted. "You need to sit back down, now!" Dante looked at the line in his arm, then at the glass separating him from the incubators, then at Elena's room, monitors flickering wildly again as her stress mirrored the chaos outside. Every instinct screamed at him to fight, to finish it, to spill blood so his family could breathe. That was the man he'd always been. But this time, if he moved, his son would die. If he stayed, he might. Dante made his choice. "Lock me in," he said. Dr. Evans stared at him. "What?" "Secure the line," Dante ordered, voice steady despite the tremor in his body. "I'm not moving." Another gunshot rang out. Vinny grunted in pain but kept fighting. One of Dante's men dragged the second attacker down the hallway, shots echoing as they disappeared around the corner. "You'll be defenseless," Dr. Evans warned. Dante lowered himself back into the chair, gripping the armrests as another wave of dizziness hit. "I already am," he said. The nurse rushed forward, stabilizing the line, tightening the straps. Blood flowed again. The monitor responded almost immediately. Heart rate rising, oxygen stabilizing. The baby was fighting. So was Dante. Vinny's voice crackled over the radio. "One down, second in pursuit." Another explosion rocked the floor, farther away now. Sprinklers burst to life, water raining down in chaotic sheets, the smell of smoke mixed with antiseptic. Dante's vision blurred. Dr. Evans crouched in front of him. "Stay with me. Talk." Dante focused on the man's face. "Don't let her see this." "See what?" "This," Dante said faintly. "She'll think I planned it." Dr. Evans nodded. "I won't." A nurse checked the monitor again. "Vitals improving." Relief hit Dante hard, followed immediately by weakness. His fingers went numb, his breathing shallow. "Boss!" Vinny shouted from somewhere down the hall. "We've got him!" Another pause. "Target neutralized." The words echoed dully. It was over. But Dante didn't feel victorious. He felt empty. The machine slowed. Dr. Evans checked the levels. "That's enough. We need to stop." Dante nodded faintly. "Are they?" "They're stable," Dr. Evans said. "All three." Dante closed his eyes. For the first time since Elena left him, his body gave out completely. He slumped forward, caught just in time by the nurse. "Get him a gurney!" someone shouted. They laid him flat, oxygen mask pressed to his face. The ceiling lights blurred past as they moved him. As they rolled him down the hall, Dante caught a glimpse through the glass. Elena was awake, watching. Her eyes were wide, locked on him as he passed. She saw the blood, the tubes, the guards, the aftermath. Their gazes met for one suspended second. No words, no forgiveness, just shock, and something else, something cracking. The doors swung shut between them. Dante slipped into darkness, and Elena screamed his name. Dante woke to silence. Not the sterile quiet of the ICU, but the deeper kind. The kind that followed violence, when everything that could scream already had. His eyes opened slowly, vision blurred, head pounding like it was trying to punish him for surviving. White ceiling, different room, recovery ward. He tried to move. Pain answered immediately, sharp and unnegotiable. His arm throbbed. His chest felt tight, heavy, like something had been stitched back together incorrectly. "You're awake." The voice was calm, controlled, too familiar. Dante turned his head. Elena stood by the window, not sitting, not weak, standing on her own feet. That alone stole his breath. She looked smaller than he remembered, thinner, sharper, like the world had carved pieces out of her while he wasn't looking. Her hair was pulled back carelessly. Dark circles lived under her eyes. But she was standing, alive. He pushed himself upright slightly. "You shouldn't." "Don't," she said without turning around. "Don't tell me what I should or shouldn't do. You lost that right years ago." Her voice wasn't loud. That was worse. Dante swallowed. "Are you—" "They're alive," she said immediately. All three. His chest tightened. And stable, she added, for now. Dante let out a breath that shook more than he wanted it to. She turned then. Her eyes were red but dry. That scared him more than tears ever could. I saw you, she said. Dante nodded. I know. You were bleeding, she continued. You were hooked to machines. There were guns, men on the floor. Yes. You stayed, she said. You didn't move. No. Elena stared at him as if trying to reconcile two incompatible truths. You could have died, she said. Yes. Why, she demanded. Don't lie, don't justify, why? Dante swung his legs over the side of the bed. The nurse outside the room protested weakly. He ignored it. Then, slowly, deliberately, Dante Rossi, the man who had never knelt for anyone, lowered himself to the floor. Elena stiffened. What are you doing? She said sharply. I'm not here to explain, Dante said quietly. I'm here to own it. He reached into the pocket of his discarded jacket beside the bed and pulled out his phone. The screen was shattered. He turned it on anyway and slid it across the floor toward her. She looked down at it but didn't touch it. 17 missed calls, he said. 1 message. Elena's breath caught despite herself. I didn't listen, Dante continued. I didn't answer. I assumed. I judged. And because of that, you nearly died. Our children nearly died. Silence pressed in. I was wrong, Dante said, about everything. Elena finally picked up the phone. Her fingers trembled slightly as she scrolled. She didn't cry. That hurt more than if she had. You thought I cheated, she said softly. Yes. You never asked, she said. No. You never gave me a chance to explain. I didn't deserve one, Dante said. She laughed once, brittle, humorless. You don't get to decide that. Dante bowed his head. I know. She walked closer, stopping just in front of him. I lived in fear, she said quietly. Every sound, every car, every shadow. I slept with one eye open while carrying 3 lives inside me. Dante's fists clenched against the floor. I loved you, she said, and I hated you for what that love cost me. He didn't interrupt. I didn't tell you, she continued, because I knew exactly what you would do. What? He asked hoarsely. You'd burn the world, she said, and they would burn us with it. She crouched slightly so they were eye level. You don't protect things, Elena said. You turn them into targets. The truth of it landed clean. I can't undo what I am, Dante said, but I can choose what I do next. Elena studied him for a long moment. You don't get forgiveness, she said. Not now, maybe not ever. Dante nodded. I'm not asking. Good, she said, because if you were, I'd walk out. She stood again. But, she added, turning toward the door, you don't walk away either. Dante looked up sharply. They're your children, she said. That doesn't disappear because I'm angry. I'll stay, Dante said immediately, at a distance, on your terms. Elena paused. They will never live your life, she said. No blood, no empires, no inheritance soaked in death. Dante swallowed hard. Then I'll build something else. She looked back at him, really looked. You don't know how, she said. I'll learn, he replied. A beat passed. She opened the door. As long as enemies breathe, Elena said without turning around, we're not safe. Dante's gaze hardened. They won't, he said. She stopped. That's exactly what I'm afraid of, Elena replied. She left. Dante remained on his knees long after the door closed. Later that night, Vinny stood beside him on the balcony overlooking the city. The Baroni family is regrouping, Vinny said. They know they failed. Dante's expression was cold, focused. Good, he said. Let them gather. And Elena? Vinny asked carefully. Dante looked toward the hospital wing where 3 small lives slept behind glass. She didn't forgive me, he said, which means she's smarter than I was. Vinny nodded. What's the plan? Dante's jaw tightened. The old life ends, he said, or it follows us forever. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. You chose the children. Now choose who dies for it. Dante stared at the screen. The war wasn't over. It had just learned his weakness.